Hey guys, I'm Tina, a 28-year-old woman, and I'm here to share the roller coaster of emotions I've been through. How I served my husband and in-laws exactly what they deserved. This saga unfolded a few months ago, and the aftermath has only recently settled down. The emotional trauma still lingers, but I believe sharing my story might offer some catharsis. 2 years ago, I made what felt like the biggest mistake of my life. I married my then-boyfriend, Jake. We met through mutual friends, dated for 3 years, and everything seemed perfect. Jake was caring, fun, and came from a wealthy family with a high-paying job. Our relationship was smooth sailing, filled with shared interests like traveling. Jake's generosity knew no bounds. He showered me with gifts, even surprising me with a new laptop on my college graduation day. While uncomfortable with him footing most bills, he insisted on spoiling me. However, I reciprocated with what I could afford at the time, planning thoughtful dates and gifts. When I landed a great job post-graduation, the dynamics shifted. We began splitting expenses evenly, contemplating moving in together. Jake, who inherited a house from his grandpa, offered it to me rent-free. Though I appreciated the gesture, I insisted on splitting other costs. "I want to take care of you," he said, but I held my ground on fairness. Everything took a turn when I finally met his family, who lived in another state. Jake warned me about their judgmental nature, but I wasn't prepared for what unfolded. During our meeting, his parents, Sandra and Dave, weren't exactly welcoming. "Do you even pay rent?" They questioned, criticizing my spending habits and contribution to the household. Cassie, Jake's sister, added to the tension with her dismissive attitude, claiming she was married to a rich billionaire. Feeling alienated and unsupported, I struggled through their visit as Jake laughed along with his family's criticisms. The constant scrutiny left me emotionally drained and questioning my place in their world. The visit ended, but the emotional aftermath lingers. Sharing this story isn't just about venting. It's a step towards healing and finding strength amidst the chaos. So buckle up, because this is a story of resilience, self-discovery, and serving justice where it's due. As the whispers of my engagement party's extravagant expenses circulated, I found myself grappling with the perception that everything in my life was funded by Jake's pockets. Despite my efforts to reassure his family and counter Jake's occasional negative remarks, they remained unconvinced. It became increasingly frustrating, especially when Jake perpetuated false narratives about my financial situation, claiming I lived a lavish lifestyle on his dime. Jake's justifications for his extravagant gifts raised my suspicions. He argued that as a man of his status, he should always give expensive presents. In reality, it seemed more like a bragging tactic among his friends. The bad taste left by his family's comments lingered, and when I confronted Jake, he dismissed it, telling me to take their words lightly. 6 months passed, and Jake proposed. Overjoyed, we planned an engagement party, the expenses once again shared equally. Meanwhile, my small business thrived, unbeknownst to Jake, who considered it a modest hobby. Deciding to treat myself, I opted for a grand celebration, covering the costs, and even flying in my extended family. This, however, triggered a new wave of criticism from Jake's family. They accused me of draining Jake's account and questioned my financial responsibility. Even Jake's mother, Sandra, insinuated that I manipulated him into spending money. Feeling overwhelmed, I excused myself from the chaos and found Cassie and her husband, Jim, mocking me outside. The engagement party I had envisioned was tainted by familial judgment, and Jake seemed oblivious to my distress. My protective mother, sensing my sadness, approached me, urging reconsideration of the engagement. She had witnessed the disrespect from Jake's family throughout the party and reminded me that I deserved better. The conflicting emotions surrounding our engagement left me questioning whether the love I felt for Jake could withstand the weight of his family's prejudices. The situation had escalated to a point where even Jake seemed to align with his family's negative perceptions of me. Frustration mounting, my mother urged me to have a serious conversation with Jake. After the wedding, I confronted him about his family's disapproval. Jake downplayed their remarks, insisting he was joking, and professed his love, claiming he didn't mind breaking the bank for me. Despite my attempts to contribute financially, Jake resisted, brushing off my concerns about paying rent. Wedding planning intensified the stress, with his parents criticizing every choice, accusing me of bankrupting their son. Cassie joined the chorus, berating my expenses on the dress and makeup, oblivious to my mother's contribution. The wedding ceremony proceeded smoothly, but at the reception, Sandra and Dave persisted in accusing me of overspending. Not wanting them to spoil another celebration, I kept quiet. Yet suspicions arose as an eerie calm settled after the wedding. Months later, Jake's big promotion prompted him to propose a celebration with both families. Eager to make it special, I offered to cover the entire dinner party, using my business income and a trust fund from my grandfather. I meticulously planned the event to surprise and delight everyone. However, when his family arrived, their discontent was palpable. Sandra seized the opportunity during speeches to brand me a gold digger, accusing me of draining Jake's accounts from the engagement party to the present dinner. The prenup, in her eyes, was a saving grace. Insults flowed freely, insinuating that I was a financial burden and questioning Jake's choice to marry me. In disbelief, I defended myself, expressing my intent to contribute and secure our financial stability. Jake's participation in the verbal assault added to my shock. The dinner party, meant to celebrate his success, turned into a battleground of accusations and disdain. The once happy ambience crumbled, replaced by a tense atmosphere. The accusations lingered, leaving me questioning the foundation of our relationship and whether love could endure the weight of financial judgments. The party had turned into a battleground of accusations and disdain. The accusations of being a gold digger and a liar echoed through the room, met with laughter from the guests. Frustrated and determined to set the record straight, I decided to reveal my bank balance to the incredulous crowd. As I displayed my hard-earned savings and the recent access to my grandfather's trust fund, shock and disbelief filled the room. Jake's family, particularly his mother, accused me of stealing from him, but I asserted that this was the result of my efforts, not theft. Exposing the truth, I revealed my intention to use the trust fund for a bigger house as a surprise for Jake. However, after enduring relentless insults and false accusations, I declared that this plan would no longer materialize. The disrespect from Jake and his family had reached its limit, and I demanded a divorce. Despite Jake's pleas and attempts to salvage the situation, I stood firm in my decision. Leaving the party, I knew I had exposed him to his extended family, friends, and colleagues. The shock and whispers that followed were a small price to pay for reclaiming my dignity. Returning home with my mother, I began collecting my belongings. Jake bombarded my phone with calls, trying to talk things through, but I chose to mute him. Breaking down later, I realized the weight of the decision and the end of a marriage that, despite the love given, had become unbearable. The following day, I sought legal assistance from my cousin, who drew up divorce papers based on the prenuptial agreement. Despite Jake's persistent attempts to contact me, I remained resolute, keeping all his voicemails and messages as evidence. In an attempt to force a conversation, Jake and his family showed up at my mother's place, demanding to talk. However, she firmly denied them access, declaring that the discussion was over. Jake's desperate attempts continued, ranging from sobbing apologies to threatening harm. To protect myself, I stored all the recordings, considering the possibility of obtaining a restraining order. Despite the chaos, I found solace in the support of my mother and decided to quit my job, as my business was thriving, and I sought a more peaceful and dignified life. Jake's persistence reached a disturbing level when he tried to visit my office unannounced. Thankfully, the security was informed in advance, swiftly escorting him out. Undeterred, he continued his attempts, even threatening to take everything from me in the divorce. A week after serving him divorce papers at his workplace, the harassment persisted. Jake's tumultuous behavior led me to quit my job for the sake of my well-being. I wasn't chasing wealth. I simply wanted a life free from toxicity and filled with peace and dignity. The relentless harassment didn't cease. Jake continued sending flowers and gifts to my mother's address. We returned every parcel, but the situation escalated to a point where I contemplated relocating. With my mother's help, I found a perfect house in the next state. It offered the distance I needed from my ex, allowing me to live peacefully while remaining accessible to my mother. Amidst the paperwork and finalizations, the judge, considering the solid prenuptial agreement, granted the divorce. We endured 6 months of separation before the decision, a period crucial for regaining stability. Once the divorce was finalized, I swiftly moved to my new home and changed my number to escape the incessant spamming from Jake and his family. Reports suggest that Jake's life is in shambles, blaming his parents for the demise of his marriage. Professionally, he faced consequences, with colleagues avoiding him and seniors angered by the bad publicity. His parents resorted to spreading false rumors about infidelity, but fortunately, these lies didn't gain traction. In contrast, my life has taken a positive turn. Focused on improving my business, I'm savoring the newfound freedom. I've begun going out and exploring the dating scene cautiously, given the insecurities Jake instilled. Despite the hurdles, I remain hopeful that time will heal, and I'll find someone who appreciates and cherishes me.